The metal clang echoed through the silent garage as Owen wiped sweat from his brow, ready to close up for the night until he saw the trail of bloody footprints. They led past his rusted toolbox to the shadows behind the storage shelves. When he pulled back the tarp, his heart stopped. There, crouched and trembling, was a bruised woman clutching to small kids like human shields. She didn't beg. She didn't even cry. She just whispered, "Please, we've got nowhere else to go." Owen Granger never considered himself a hero. A man pushing 40 with a busted knee, oil-stained hands, and a leaky roof didn't have much time for saving anyone. His world was small: his garage in rural Arkansas, his aging mutt Max, and the handful of neighbors who still paid cash for engine repairs. Life was quiet, predictable, safe, but that night changed everything. He had just closed the bay door when Max began growling low and deep. Not the playful bark Owen heard when kids wandered by, but the kind of warning that made his skin prickle. "What is it, boy?" he asked, gripping the old wrench from his workbench. Then he saw it. Bare, muddy footprints on the concrete, small ones, and next to them blood. Owen's pulse jumped as he followed the trail with Max close behind. The footprints curved behind the stacks of tires and disappeared under a canvas tarp, hung over an old transmission. Slowly, cautiously, he reached out and lifted the edge. There she was, a woman mid-30s, pale as moonlight, one eye swollen shut, lips split and bleeding. Her arms wrapped protectively around two children, a girl maybe 7, and a boy who couldn't be older than 4. The boy was coughing, his tiny frame heaving with every breath. "Please," she whispered. "Don't call anyone." Owen didn't speak. He couldn't. The sight of her so broken, yet fiercely clutching those kids, hit something inside him he hadn't felt in years, not since. He dropped the wrench. "Are you hurt bad?" he asked. "I got a first aid kit and blankets. You can stay for tonight." The woman blinked, startled. "You're not gonna call the cops?" He shook his head slowly. "Not unless you want me to. But that boy needs help. He's wheezing bad." She hesitated, then nodded. Within minutes, the small garage office was transformed. Owen laid out his old army blankets, brought in the propane heater he rarely used, and even opened the can of chicken soup he'd been saving for the weekend. The kids didn't speak, only curled up together as their mother spooned broth into their mouths with trembling hands. "I'm Owen," he said gently. She paused. "My name's Lily. That's Emily and Jonah." He waited, but she said nothing else. No explanation, no excuses, just her name. And for now, that was enough. But deep down, he knew this wasn't random. A woman doesn't hide in a stranger's garage unless something's chasing her. Or someone. Owen barely slept that night. Max stayed curled by the office door, ears twitching at every sound. And Owen's eyes never drifted far from the makeshift bedding where Lily and the kids lay. The boy's breathing eased after some warm soup and medicine, but the fear in Lily's eyes didn't. Just after dawn, she was already up washing the kids' faces with a damp rag, fixing their tangled hair like it was any other morning, like they were just visitors passing through. "Lily," Owen said carefully, handing her a cup of hot coffee, "I'm not gonna press you, but I've seen bruises before. On soldiers, on women, too. Whatever you're running from, it's not over. Is it?" Her hands trembled as she took the cup. "You ever trusted the wrong man so much you ignored your own gut?" "Once," Owen said, his voice low. "Cost me 10 years and everything I had." She looked up. "Then you already know what kind of stupid I was." Owen didn't judge. He saw the truth in her eyes. That hollow, exhausted look of someone who'd gone numb just to survive. "I thought Dennis loved me. We were married 8 years. But last year, something changed. He got darker, paranoid, controlling." Owen nodded slowly. "You don't have to go on if it hurts." "No," she said firmly. "I need to say it out loud." She told him about the threats, about being locked inside their trailer when he went out, about how he hit her for the first time last Thanksgiving, then cried and blamed the whiskey, about how he blamed Jonah's asthma on her, even though he never took the boy to the doctor. 2 nights ago, he broke my ribs with a broom handle because I called his cousin for help." She whispered. "He passed out drunk. I grabbed the Kids and ran. That's how we ended up here. I didn't even know where I was going. I just drove until the car died. Owen clenched his jaw. So that's your van out back, she nodded. He walked outside, took one look at the rusted, overheated clunker by the shed, and shook his head. You're lucky it got you this far. Then he spotted the crack in the windshield. Bullet-sized. He didn't say a word about it. Not yet. That afternoon, he gave her his old phone burner style. Prepaid and told her to call no one unless she trusted them with her life. Lily cried when he handed it over. I don't have anything to give you, Owen. Not money, not even a favor. You don't even know us. I know enough, he said. You've been hurt. The kids are scared. That's all the reason I need. He walked back into the garage and grabbed his tools. Where you going? She asked. Gonna get that van running, not because I want you to leave, but because if trouble's coming, I want you ready. By sunset, Emily was smiling for the first time. She helped Owen hold a flashlight while he worked under the hood, asking questions like any curious kid would. Jonah sat on Max, who didn't seem to mind, and giggled as the dog licked his ear. And for a few hours, the garage didn't feel like a hiding place. It felt like home. But just as they were settling in for the night, Owen heard its tires crunching gravel. He reached for the crowbar near the workbench. A black pickup truck had pulled up across the road, engine still running, headlights off, and someone was watching the garage from behind the wheel. Owen didn't move at first, just stood there under the low garage light, crowbar gripped tight in his hand. Eyes locked on the black truck across the road. No headlights, no movement. Just the hum of the engine under the night's silence. That had happened. The driver's side window rolled down an inch enough to flash a cigarette tip, burning red in the darkness. Owen stepped outside slowly, shoulders squared, heart pounding. Max growled behind him. He kept one hand loose, the other gripping the crowbar behind his leg. You lost, he called across the gravel. No answer, but the cigarette flicked out the window, landed near the mailbox. Then the engine revved and the truck peeled off into the night, gravel spraying behind it. Owen stood there a moment longer, watching the tail lights disappear. Then he looked down. A cigarette butt, filtered, still warm. Dennis had found them. Back. Inside, Owen locked the garage doors tight and slid the heavy bench in front of the main one. Lily saw his face and went pale. Was it him? I don't know, Owen lied. Could have just been a local idiot. But we need to be careful now. The next morning, Owen was already under the van, fixing the radiator hose with parts he salvaged from an old Ford. But something caught his eye wedged behind the glove box, a phone. Old, cracked screen, still powered on. He slid it open with gloved fingers. Only one text on the screen. You'll never keep them from me. You hear me, Lily? Never. He felt his blood run cold. Owen knew he had to act. He took a walk down to Eddie's Diner, the only place in town with a working phone booth. From there, he made a call to an old friend, Dan Parker, a retired cop who now ran a private security firm out of Little Rock. Dan, I've got a woman and 2 kids hiding in my shop, Owen said. Voice low, I think her husband's tracking her, and I think he's dangerous. Dan didn't even hesitate. Send me her name. I'll run him. And I'll call in a favor from the sheriff. 2 hours later, Dan called back. You were right. Dennis Hartful, rap sheet a mile long. Couple assault charges, all dropped. Money talks. He's got a cousin in county patrol and another in parole enforcement. That truck, it's registered to Dennis's brother. Owen closed his eyes, so he's already watching. Most likely. Listen, you want my guys to come out there and move her somewhere safe? Owen looked out the window. Lily was brushing Emily's hair in the sunlight, while Jonah helped Max dig in the dirt. No, he said. Not yet. Let me handle this my way first. That night, Owen sat Lily down. I know he's close. He's already trying to scare you. But I'm not letting you run again, Lily. You stay one step ahead forever. You never stop being afraid. So we fight smart. Her voice was barely a whisper. How? By making sure the next time he shows up, he walks right into something he didn't expect. She stared at him. Why are you helping us, Owen? Really? He swallowed hard. Because once I needed someone to. and no one came. Lily reached out and touched his arm. Then maybe it's not just us you're saving. He didn't reply. But deep down, she was right. This wasn't just about protection. This was redemption. Asterisk asterisk. 3 days later, the garage looked the same on the outside, just another rust-stained building in a dying town. But inside, everything had changed. Owen had reinforced the back doors with steel plates, welded them himself, installed a motion detector he bought secondhand, and rewired the floodlights. He even borrowed a backup generator from the junkyard, just in case the power mysteriously went out. But the biggest change, Lily. Gone was the woman who flinched at shadows. She still carried the bruises on her ribs, her wrist, across her collarbone, but she walked straighter now, spoke clearer, and when she looked at her kids, she smiled without faking it. Owen saw it, the quiet strength beneath her scars, but it wouldn't last if Dennis got to her first. So Owen finished the trap. He knew Dennis would come. Men like him always did, full of ego, convinced the world owed them obedience. And when he did, Owen would be ready. That night, Emily tugged at Owen's sleeve. "Can we sleep in the big garage with you and Max?" Owen smiled. "Only if you promise not to snore louder than the dog." Lily chuckled softly later, as the kids lay curled in sleeping bags and Lily finally dozed off on the cot. Owen sat alone near the open bay door, watching the gravel drive. He didn't know what was coming, but he felt it, like a storm rolling in with no thunder, and around 3 a.m., it came. A shadow crept along the edge of the property. Someone on foot this time, moving slow. Owen didn't move, didn't blink. He waited until the sensor light flicked on. Then he stood, looking for something. Dennis froze. He looked nothing like a husband, more like a caged animal with blood on its teeth. Ragged beard, eyes too wild, and a crowbar of his own clenched in one fist. "Where is she?" Dennis hissed. "Where's my wife?" Owen stepped forward, calm, solid. "She's not yours, not anymore." Dennis snarled. "You think this is gonna stop me? I've got men in this town. You don't even know who you're messing with." Owen's voice dropped. "You're right. I don't care. But I know who you're standing in front of right now. And I will end this if you come one step closer to those kids." Dennis lunged. Owen blocked with his arm, took a gash to the shoulder, but slammed his crowbar into Dennis's side hard enough to knock him back. Before Dennis could rise, the floodlights snapped on and Sheriff Duggan's cruiser skidded into the driveway, lights flashing. Dan Parker had come through. 3 deputies jumped out, weapons drawn. Dennis ran, but he didn't make it far. The next morning, Lily sat on the tailgate of Owen's truck, watching the sunrise with Emily curled against her side. "I thought I'd never feel safe again," she whispered. "I thought he'd win." Owen stood beside her, his arm bandaged. "He didn't." She looked up at him. "I still don't understand why you helped us, why you risked so much." He hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn photo. A woman, pregnant, smiling. "My wife," he said. "She died 10 years ago. Complications. Ambulance never came in time. I wasn't there when she needed me. I promised myself I'd never let that happen again. And when I saw you and those kids in my garage, I knew that promise still mattered." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "You kept it. You kept your promise, Owen." He looked out across the field. "I think maybe I needed saving too." Asterisk asterisk 3. Weeks later, the garage was no longer just a place where engines were rebuilt. It was where lives had been rebuilt quietly, without applause, without cameras. Lily and her kids stayed in the spare room behind the garage office. Owen had built it years ago, back when he thought he'd start a family of his own. Life had other plans, but now laughter echoed in that room every morning. The sound of 2 children who were finally allowed to just be kids. Emily drew pictures on the old tool bench, turning rusted metal into her own coloring canvas. Jonah helped Owen organize sockets and wrenches, his tiny hands more coordinated than anyone expected. For a boy his age, and Lily, she got stronger. The bruises faded, but the strength stuck. She started helping around the garage, cleaning, organizing invoices, even charming the grumpiest customers with her soft-spoken calm. One day, she fixed a carburetor by herself, Another, she stood up to a man who tried to shortchange Owen. Owen watched it all quietly, like someone afraid that if he said the wrong thing, the miracle might vanish. One cloudy afternoon, the sheriff returned. Dennis had pleaded guilty to multiple charges: breaking and entering, domestic assault, violating a restraining order, and attempted assault with a weapon. He'd be gone for years, maybe a decade. But the real justice wasn't the sentence. It was Lily sitting across the table from Sheriff Duggan, holding her head high, voice steady as she gave her statement. She wasn't running anymore. Owen didn't ask her to stay. Not once. But one night, as the kids were watching an old cartoon on the dusty TV, Lily stepped out into the garage where Owen was working under a hood. She stood there a moment, watching him in silence, then softly said, "I can leave now. I have options. There's a women's center in Dallas that helps mothers restart." Owen froze beneath the car. Then slowly, he slid out from under the frame, wiped his hands, and looked at her. "That what you want?" She didn't answer right away. "I used to dream of escape," she whispered. "Just me and the kids, somewhere far. But now I wake up, and this place already feels like the dream I used to have." Owen's voice was rough. "You don't owe me anything, Lily. If you need to go." She shook her head. "I'm saying, I want to stay." And just like that, the silence between them broke. 6 months later, Owen's garage had a new sign: Granger and Heartful Auto, family owned. Since 2023, customers started coming not just for repairs, but for the warmth inside. Word spread. Not about Dennis, not about court cases, but about the mechanic who once took in a bruised stranger and her kids. Without asking for a dime, people left food at the door. Someone donated a brand new heater. The church down the road hosted a fundraiser and handed Lily a check with tears in their eyes. Jonah's asthma cleared up with regular treatment. Emily started school and won a poetry contest for a piece titled "The Garage with a Dog." And Owen? He smiled more, laughed louder, stood straighter. The kindness he gave away had circled back around. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the fields, Lily sat on the front step beside him, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. "You saved us," she said. "No," he murmured, watching the horizon. "You saved me right back, and for the first time in years." Owen believed it, because some miracles don't arrive in grand ways. Sometimes they limp into your life barefoot, bruised, and carrying to scared kids, and stay.